Welcome to Code 3 for the road. I'm Bolin.
Welcome to Code 3 for the road. I'm Low.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today. I'm AC. On
Let's get
today's
outro.
session, we're going to be talking about giving advice to those that want to enlist in the military. So it doesn't mean particularly you're joining. It could be somebody that, a friend or family that is even considering of thinking of joining and whatnot. So we're not experts, but we're just going to share our experience. And I think that the three of us, what the big takeaway from this is that hopefully we can help somebody, at least one person, that's about to join or is thinking about joining and getting out of the service better off, just through the advice that we're going to be sharing with you all today.
Yeah, we all
Might have
joined
some
at different.
questions. We might be able to answer them. You can learn from my mistakes or
Exactly.
our good deeds.
Yeah, and we all joined at different times, so it's kind of perfect too, and got out at different times. And we all
Yeah.
got to serve in different locations too, so that's actually going to help some people out there that are trying to figure out which base is like a good base to start at and trying to go to or aim for stuff
Do
like
we
that.
know? Do we know what it's like now? That's the question, though.
We're
Do we know
not.
what the military
We're
is like
not.
now?
Yeah,
We're just gonna give off our feedback based on when we joined.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree that it you shouldn't be discouraged as to what's going on in the world. That you shouldn't use that that will prevent you from like joining, because to be honest, there's always some crazy shit happening in the world. There's crazy shit that's gonna happen when you're enlisted or when that family's gonna be enlisted. So
If you're in the military with a family, so that's something
that's
to consider. That's why I want to talk about the young men and women that like right out of high school, get a little money in the pocket, and they fuck up and think, I gotta get married. I don't know what that is, but so many guilty have done it. It
okay.
fucked
So
up
so
so
the
many young people.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is whether it's a good idea or not to want to get married. I think it's not a good idea, because you're
Like
And
before,
you're
like before joining the military.
or like right
or
after
while
you
joining.
get done with basic training and then you're getting married. I don't know how many cases of that, and I was one of those.
Don't even have that in your sight, but whether it's before joining, after getting out of basic training, after getting out of tech school. One, for many of you, it's gonna be the first time one that you're leaving your household, whether you're living with your parents or a loved one. That's a big thing. First time leaving the nest. Second of all, going into a brand new environment, you don't know what to expect. So
Mm.
I personally think it's not the best.
And this
It's
is for the
not the
young
best
people.
idea.
This is for the young people. If you're
Yeah.
Yeah,
25, 30 years old,
you
and
already
you
got a
and
family
you
established.
join the military late, I mean, okay, you're
Mm.
you're good. You're trying to serve your country, kind of trying to do something for your family, makes sense. But if you're young, fresh out of high school, or even
Yeah,
halfway through college, some people decide to join the military. Focus on your military career and what you want to do.
focus on you.
Focus on you, and then when that
Make sure
special person
you
comes
give yourself
along.
time to pursue your military dreams or
Even
use that
I
education, do whatever you want.
I'd say even if you've known the person for a couple years, like I said, one, you're going into an environment that you don't know what to expect. When I joined, so basic training is what, a month and a half, and then you go to tech school. That's a month, maybe two. If you get injured, you can get washed back. So automatically,
Depending
that's
on what
about
branch
three.
and what job you
Yeah,
have too is different. How long
so
you're
that's
in
so
training.
that's about 3 months. And then once I got to my first base, I was only there 6 months, and then I deployed. So that's you're gonna be away for another 6 months, and this is where the long distance, all these factors are gonna come into play, and it's gonna really test your relationship.
And I'm glad you
And
brought
you
that up
really,
too, because
yeah,
getting deployed too. Everybody
yeah.
that enters the military expect to deploy.
No one is safe. No
Yeah,
one is safe.
nobody is safe. They've told us like on day one of basic training they said whatever job you have, you can deploy. Like, it's gonna happen.
I promise you,
So
even if your recruiter tells you, don't believe that. No job is safe. Go with the mentality that you're gonna deploy in your first year and you're gonna be better off. I promise you.
It might not even be a bad deployment. It might be
Exactly. It
pretty
might
fun.
not. My
true.
first deployment was cake.
Think of it as an
Mine
experience.
wasn't.
Yeah.
But one big important thing too, even before deciding to join the military, is make sure that like you're you're physically in shape, you're mentally prepared to do your research,
Hmm.
like YouTube, like different things, especially of what you're trying to join, and see what they're going through training, and also after they graduate, like what they do at their actual base. I mean, they have snippets online you can find, and to really find out like, oh, this is what I'm going to be doing in the military, so I need to be prepared mentally, physically, and emotionally prepared if you're leaving, people you care about back home.
In conjunction with this, when it comes to filling out your dream sheet, this is a big one. During basic training, right? They do that
Tech school, I think.
tech school.
No, I got to tech school. Yeah, no, I made my dream sheet in tech
Can't
school.
remember.
And yeah, I got my first follow-on bases were nowhere near my dream sheet.
So that's the thing.
Same,
Um,
same.
You might think that you can manipulate the dream sheet. No. Like I wanted so like I joined the military and I only put stateside thinking I want to be stationed anywhere in the United States, that way I can come home
mhm.
maybe every 6 months. The reality was that it really, you could be overseas, you can be stateside, but I think you're gonna be able to go on leave maybe once a year, just
Yeah, you
because
get like a mid league.
one, you gotta accumulate those days of vacation or those days of leave, you know.
Yeah.
And then, to be honest, not much changes. When you come back home, I mean, everything still remains the same. Friends stay the same or disappear.
Sometimes, and that's
Yeah,
actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something important to think about when you leave to join the military. Is make sure you have a good communication with your family members and people you want to stay in contact with back home, because sometimes, leaving for long periods of time, family members start doing their own thing, and sometimes they move, and you're over
Nobody
here.
goes on without you.
Yeah, you're over here in the military. Like, try to have a good
exactly.
Doing anything.
communication with family, because they're a good
Yeah,
support system.
yes. And like Bolin said, life does go on without you.
Don't expect them to be like, "Oh, I miss you so much, baby."
Yeah.
Just
Well,
have a
I mean,
dinner celebration. Sometimes they do that, but I
I will
mean,
I will
probably like
say,
the second or
like,
third time they didn't do it.
the majority of like military, like there's a huge disconnect with family members and stuff. But I've
Mhm.
actually met some service members where they're like still like 100% close to their family the day they
Oh
left
yeah.
for basic, and that's awesome. But for the majority that people that I've known, like, I know there's always been tension with family members, especially when you're deployed. I mean, personally, when I was deployed, it was ghost. I didn't hear from my family that much as I wanted to.
Yeah.
And life happens, everybody's doing their things, and I'm doing my thing. That's what I wanted to do. So
What was it? Bagram?
I went to Balad. So it was,
A lot.
yeah, Joint Base Balad. So we were there with like other branches, basically. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was not a fun place. And
Wasn't too easy to get in contact with family. Like, how often were you able to
so
call home?
the times I was off, I had to go to like the MWR, where it was like, you guys been to MWRs, right? Didn't they have one in Saudi?
Mm,
They
I
should have
think
one in
so.
Korea. They should have one in Korea too. They're called MWRs. Basically, like rec centers where you go there
Hmm.
to relax and wind down.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well,
yeah,
I would go
yeah.
there and I'd take my like little cheap little laptop, and I would like try to FaceTime or Skype, like my family, like whenever I could. But man,
Yeah.
sometimes it just doesn't work out with the time difference.
Like day one, the moment you join the military, go see medical for any reason. If you get hurt, roll your ankle, whatever, Doesn't matter how small, how big, go to medical. I can't stress how many times there was probably times where I should have gone and I didn't,
Same.
because
I think we all have
yeah,
been through it.
the key thing is that, one, you're gonna go into the military tip top shape, best shape of your life. You're gonna get out different way. The worst thing you can do is think that either you're a baby or don't want to go to medical for whatever reason. Me, Lo, and Bullen, we used to do security forces, but it was kind of like a given that if you wanted to schedule any appointment, you had to do it on your time off. And that was one of the biggest discouraging factors, is nobody wants to go to medical, nobody wants to schedule appointments on their time off, but no one tells you that this will pay off once you separate, because everything will be documented, everything will be recorded, and that's what matters when you go to submit a claim for the VA.
Yeah, if you've hurt yourself like a million times during your time in service, and all those times you didn't even go to the doctors to get them basically recorded, once you get out of the military, they're going to look at your record and say, "Wow, you're perfectly healthy," because
Yeah.
none of those times were recorded. So that's why it's very important, and I'm glad AC brought that up, because that's going to help a lot of military, people that are choosing to join the military and sooner or later become veterans. You guys will be taken care of. So that's very important to keep in mind.
A person's mentality changes from when the moment you think about joining. When you think about joining, or you're in the process of joining, you have such a motivated mentality. You want to get in shape, you want to be in the best shape possible, that they can't turn you away, because all you're focused on is wanting to join, wanting the job that you want or you dream of in the military. You have that mindset at the beginning. Reality sets in. You joined, and it's completely different from what you thought how it was going to be.
Yeah.
Then you get out, and your mentality is way different than when you first joined.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I
Boone
was
said,
definitely say do your research.
yeah, do your research, because
Do
especially
each
when I
job
was
that
in
you want.
basic, and I'm pretty sure you guys saw the same thing. When we were in basic, we saw one of those guys that came from, like, they lived in the country their whole life, so they weren't exposed. They weren't even exposed to the city environment where everything's just rush,
Yeah.
rush, rush. And you encounter these people, and they're the ones that kind of struggle the most, because everything is so faster paced in the military, especially during training, that city people are most likely to be like able to keep up for the most part. But somebody that's in the country, that's everything's very slowed down for them. It's a huge culture shock. So that's
We had a
why
One of
guy
my
showing with
research. You got
boots
to
and,
research your
and gym
stuff.
shorts.
one of the biggest lies in life, like, you're a kid, you want money, you want to be able to drive. Okay, wait till you're 18. Guess what? You got to get a fucking job. You got to pay taxes. Oh, you want a driver's license? You
We
got to
should make a
pay for
video
that.
about that some other
You
day.
got to renew your tags. You got to buy a car. You got to get
Learn
insurance.
how to cook.
Bro, I don't want to be a fucking adult.
Cook some
No, you
bagel.
gotta learn how to cook
You got to
before
be
you
a.
join the
You got
military.
to.
Learn how to cook
That's
something.
a good one.
Learn how to
Hey,
cook
learn
like
how to
good
cook.
food.
Yes, good
Yeah,
food.
because I mean, some of the branches. Unless you're in the Air Force and you got a chow hall or a DFAC, what we call it, a dining facility, where it's like gourmet food for the most part. They can make you omelets, which is pretty cool. Like I never complained about the DFAC food most of
Make
the
sure
time.
you
Don't get married. Learn to cook. Do your research. Get a dog. Get a dog.
Get a
You
dog.
Hawkins. Get a
Get a dog
dog.
is a good advice. Yes.
go see medical.
So if you're about to join the military, I think like right after basic training, as soon as you get to your home station, the first thing you should do is get yourself a will or a trust and protect everything you have, because you start growing in the military, you start getting things, and you got to let your family know, like, hey, this is, if I happen to pass away, this is how I want it to be. That way God forbid you pass away, your parents aren't struggling and are like, oh, we don't know what to do. He or she didn't tell us,
Yeah.
what they wanted to do with their body. Like, it's nobody
Hmm.
really talks about death. Nobody does,
Yeah,
but it is important to talk about, especially if you're joining the military. Because you never know
yeah.
what's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's better to have that and not need it. Well, in this session, we talked about what advice we should give to those that are thinking about enlisting in the military, whether it's somebody you know, whether it's you joining. Hopefully, you take something from this session. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for listening in. Like I said, we just want to hopefully help somebody.
Yes. And we're going to be coming up with a lot more topics. So hope you guys like this video. Press the like button down below. Comment if you have any questions or any topics you'd like us to talk about that's relatable to the military. We can talk about that stuff too.
Yeah.
And definitely subscribe if you like the content so far.
Yeah, let us know what you want us to talk about, or if you happen to have any questions.
When are we going to talk about UFOs?
We'll get there. Because it'll be relatable to the military at some point, I'm sure.
I hope you like what you listen to.